Warning: the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everyone, I am He Who Reviews, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. I named myself so because I love Who, and I'm here to review it, hence the name He Who Reviews. Anyway, without further ado, allons-y. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another video on Doctor Who. This is going to be my review, my very, very late review of The Church on Ruby Road, which is the first official Doctor Who episode where Ncuti Gatwa takes top billing as the Doctor, and it's no team-up episode. This is his first outing, so let's review. How did I find the episode? What did I think? What stood out? Let's get into it. Well, starting off with the opening monologue of baby being found and the Doctor narrating it, I found the opening very intriguing, really good for Ruby's character, created the right amount of intrigue, and really sucked me into the plot of the episode, making me wanting to see more. So really good cold open there. Next was the general way of how they showed Ruby was adopted. That stood out to me because it was really well set up. Good bringing in, I think it's the Long Lost Families TV show with Davina McCall, and also really is a good vehicle for setting up Ruby's adoption, her plot line, and continuing the intrigue with Ruby Sunday, so well done for that. Then the dancing in the club, where Ruby first unknowingly comes across the Doctor, sort of looking out for her because he can see that she's having a lot of bad luck, and sees that it's more than that, it's the goblins, so on and so forth. The dancing in the club and the first meeting with the Doctor for Ruby was reminiscent and reminded me more of Eccleston. There was the point where he was trying to warn her off, just saying, he's dead, go home, don't tell anyone about this or you'll probably get them killed. And I don't know, the intrigue, the refusal to tell her anything, more just asking if accidents happen a lot so he knows he's got the right person and then vanishing out of sight. That just reminded me of Eccleston's meeting, trying to keep the will-be companion out of the firing line because he knows how dangerous the life of the Doctor is, and he knows full well that getting another person involved could be dangerous for them as well as him. And it's nice to see them keeping the mystery of the Doctor, having the companion, notice them coming into their life over time. It's a good writing trope for Doctor Who that I think Russell T Davies has done before, and it continues to be good at seeing it again. And so yeah, getting reminded of old Doctors is cool. Getting reminded by the writing shows you just that it is Russell T Davies writing this, and getting reminded of old Doctors gives you a feel of the history of the show. But it going back to Eccleston is really cool for me because that's where I started with the show, so it's really nice to see that Easter egg. It could be something that I'm reaching to call it an Easter egg, but there we are, I just found it interesting. The other thing, the next moment that stood out to me was the snowman falling on Christmas or nearly hitting that person. Though you could argue the snowman thing was just a daft moment, it was really fun thing to see alien hijinks, and obviously lead to the Doctor's response to the policeman. What's your name and address? The Doctor, occupation not a doctor, address that box over there, and she's going to say yes. I just love that interaction. Gave you the impression of the old madman with a box, which is what it needs to, and still showed that Ncuti Gatwa can pull off that personality. And yeah, it just did really well with that scene, and it was just a funny scene, so nice moment to lead us into nice introductory character moments that we had here for the first couple scenes of the episodes, and there were nice moments for character all throughout, as I'll get to talking about, but I just enjoyed that moment a lot as well. So yeah, just showing off Ncuti Gatwa's acting chops and the fact that he's putting in a lot of acting work here. So that was why the scene stood out to me, just showing off Ncuti Gatwa's acting chops and showing off the madman with the Doctor-like mentality. But the one thing about this scene here that was just a bit daft was the TV remote-like sonic screwdriver. It's just a bit shit. I personally just don't like it, but I mean, people might think differently, but yeah. I don't like the new sonic screwdriver design, but that's all I'll say on that one. The baby name joke with Lulu Bell is quite funny. And they have to just keep saying it throughout the episode, obviously, but it is a terrible name. I also liked throughout the episode that we're getting an adoptive family. The fact that we're getting an adoptive family as the companion's family and getting more family dynamics similar to, say, Donna. The fact that we're getting more family dynamics with the Doctor's companions is just something I like. And family dynamics in Doctor Who, again, is just something I really appreciate because I like that we just get quite a lot of character moments through the family in this episode and quite a lot of character moments, hopefully, to come as well. And I like that there's a lot of slow scenes here showing us who the family are, giving us a lot of character dynamics, and then that leads into the introduction of Lulu Bell and the main plot of the episode, so all of it has relevance and it really flows really well. But then that leads on to another interesting character moment, which is the phone conversation. Really well done, the phone conversation with Davina McCall, and seeing the goblins essentially try to attack her with a Christmas tree, for lack of a better way of putting it. Speaking of the goblins wanting to kidnap babies was a little bit dumb, but I suppose it works for a Christmas special. So it is a bit of a weird plot, but it does work for a Christmas special. It's just fun. I do find the plot a little bit weird, but it works. Having the Doctor invent a gadget when they do kidnap Lulu Bell and he's first introduced to Ruby Sunday, and he invents those grip glove things. I forgot to write the name down for the review, which is stupid. It's something I would expect him to do. The gloves were cool. I just really like it because, yeah, you would expect the Doctor to tinker. I mean, he had that moment in the 50th anniversary special with David Tennant's iteration where it's like, this is a machine that goes ding, detects alien DNA, and also downloads comics from the future. I never know when to stop. So you would expect it to make more things like that, and it's just really fun that he did that as well. And the gloves, yeah, as I say, were just really cool. Or the whole ladder in the sky thing, I'll give that a go, babes. Just seemed like over the top line delivery or dialogue. I don't know why, but it was just, I get why they did it for the Doctor's dialogue there, but that just seemed really over the top, and it wasn't really great writing personally. I know that's a nitpick, and most of my concerns with this special are a nitpick, but I would still think that it's relevant to point out if I think that line delivery or line writing was choppy, because I think that, you know, if I'm going to give a review, I should do it in depth, shouldn't I? But anyway, there we are. I just found that really stupid. Another thing I found really stupid is a writing thing that they did here, and will probably continue doing throughout the series, now that they've set the joke up, is the whole Mavity thing, where it's like, we've got Mavity, and then the Doctor talked about Mavity in the gloves taking the weight, and I just find the whole Mavity instead of gravity thing really stupid just because of the time travel mess up, and it's like, the joke would have worked, I think, for just a one-off throughout those specials, and I get why they're keeping it going. I just find the joke really dumb and not funny. So as a running joke, it doesn't make me laugh, therefore I find it a dumb running joke. But that's just a personal opinion. What do you guys think of the whole Mavity thing? But then you get to them going onto the ship, and the Doctor getting into the whole language of coincidence thing, and a brand new science, and genuinely nerding out. Seem perfectly well written, and for the characters, so there are really good character moments and well written Doctor moments in this special as well. So it's kind of balanced, but I will point out the good with the bad. But yeah, the Doctor nerding out of a new science was great. Also, bragging about time travel and comparing time travel mechanisms was great. It brought you back to, say, Tennant when you did the Utopia episode, and he and Jack Harkness are arguing over time travel, Jack saying he's not the only one who can time travel, and the Doctor responds with, excuse me, that's not time travel, it's like, I've got a sports car, you've got a space hopper, and I really like that, and bringing that back of, oh, this isn't time travelers are great. It's just like, yeah, that's exactly what the Doctor would do, so that's a good little writing nod for the Doctor as well. It's obviously become clear in the new iteration that they intend or seem to be leaning towards changing the Doctor's sexuality to be more fluid, and the long hot summer thing with Harry Houdini is a subtle hint that could lead to this. I'm glad they're not going over the top with this change, and making it subtle, potentially setting up something down the road, potentially setting up something down the road, potentially not, but I like the subtle writing in Doctor Who. It's been a long time. Character moments, subtle writing, and fun Doctor nods and callbacks. God, it's been a long time since we've had that. Well done, Russell T Davies, majoritively. Although, as I say, I will continue pointing out writing moments if they happen. And the other writing thing I'm going to point out now, though I like the subtlety of it, I do, however, find it stupid that they're changing the Doctor's sexuality at all, if anything, because they never did. If anything, I find it more stupid because they never did with Jodie Whittaker's iteration. Although it was done stupidly, setting up the romance between her and Yaz. And I say it was done stupidly because it was done because of a fan thing. It was done because Jodie Whittaker saw a fan thing and then asked, could it be put in the show? Therefore, it felt rushed and came out of absolutely bloody nowhere. Though the romance and attraction to Yaz's character for the Doctor did come out of nowhere, them not changing her, I'll say her because it was a woman at that point, her sexuality at that point made sense, because why should the Doctor's sexuality suddenly become fluid or change when that's never been explored in Time Lord culture before? It would make sense that the sexuality stays with being attracted to a woman no matter the body, is my point. I find it stupid that they changed the sexuality, but I'm also glad that they may be subtly hinting at that, because if they're going to do it, at least make the writing subtle and build up to something you're going to do. You could change my mind, I'm not exactly set on it, I'm not angry about it, but I do find it stupid that they're doing it. But again, subtle writing, so that moment's a twofold thing for me. One good point, one bad point, but there we are. Moving on to another moment, I want to talk about the song from the Goblins and them singing while presenting the baby to the Goblin King. It kind of makes sense because they're aliens and the Doctor joining in with the song and the Doctor joining in with the song and stuff. Just seems really dumb though. Sort of out of place. It does kind of make sense because he's trying to lead them to a distraction. And I guess it works for the tone of a Christmas special. I just hope the singing doesn't become a theme of Doctor Who, because singing in Doctor Who just doesn't seem normal to me and becomes a bit dumb. And it is a dumb moment. It works for a Christmas special, but I hope it's a moment in isolation. Moving on to us getting more character scenes after the rescue of the baby, getting more of the grandmother, which I loved her character, she was great, and reintroducing the family dynamics and seeing more of that. The Doctor and the family, and the family's introduction to the Doctor I really enjoyed. The grandmother's reaction, him just sort of slipping in, and it seemed to work seamlessly. I like that they seem to get on with him relatively well. However, the moment where the family dynamic being introduced kind of falls apart isn't the family dynamic moment itself. It's when the time travel shenanigans are introduced, where the Doctor takes a while to recognise what's happened. And I know you have to have him go, where's your daughter Ruby, maybe once or twice, run throughout the house and try and figure it out, because you have to have it be a thing for the audience. But it just seemed to go on way too long, and the changes in the character's personality did show the shift of time, and I get why Russell might want to do that, because showing the shifts with just one element of the family not being there is an intriguing thing, but it still felt like the moment was too slow. I think I would have preferred the Doctor to figure it out instantly, but especially considering we had a special recently where it's like, maybe it's a time travel problem, and David Tennant says to Donna, no, I'm a Time Lord, I'd feel it in my bones. So it's like, if you're going to have him that sensitive to time travel fluctuations and timeline fractures, timelines breaking, then you can't set that up several episodes before and then be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because I want to have him be confused. And it also felt like they were just trying to dumb down the time travel thing for the audience and treat the audience as thick. We're not thick, it just went on too long. I just didn't like how that particular scene was structured, even though there were cool elements in it. It could have been structured better. This is the Doctor Who, and this is the Doctor talking about timeline changes. He should have been able to notice quicker. And to me, the slow burn thing for the audience, making the moment a slow burn thing for the audience, just didn't work. But anyway, I apologise if I went on about some of the mistakes so far, but I'm only doing it because I know that Russell T Davies can write better than this, so I'm pulling him up where relevant, and I really do like the show, and I want its writing to be on point. And there are points where it has been, so I wanted to be on point throughout the episode. Nothing can be perfect, but there are things I think Russell could have done better in this episode, so I will point them out. Yeah, I know Russell Davies can write better than this, that's why I'm pointing these little inconsistencies out. Anyway, the rest of the episode was good. I wish we'd seen more of Ruby's reaction to the TARDIS interior, and her figuring out all the time travel stuff, although I did like the pondering over when was Houdini figuring out. He said he went back, you were gone, and all that. I did like that. It did feel like quintessential, the companion realising stuff over time, the time travel, and then running to the TARDIS and being like, can I come with you? Again, I hope we get to see Ruby's reaction to the TARDIS interior in the next episode, otherwise it will just feel like a waste. And it will be a long time before we see that, so it's annoying that we had to wait for that. Then you get the Mrs. Flood's wink to camera. I like that we're getting more mystery in Doctor Who of, we've never seen a TARDIS before, so that character is obviously someone important, potentially someone linked to Time Lords that we haven't seen yet, or maybe that we have seen and they're hinting at something big. And we haven't seen that kind of story setup, character setup, and long-running plot thread setup, and basically good writing and basics of writing for a big-budget show like this that you should have in the bag for quite some time. Definitely not in Chris Chibnall's era. Then we got less and less of it as Moffat's era went on, and we got more browser history jokes instead. So I'm glad we're getting these kind of plot threads and hopefully long-running setups throughout a season, or maybe a couple of seasons. Hopefully it's just a season, because I want to see who Mrs. Flood is. But I get that. I like that we're getting long-running character setups and callbacks to more shenanigans and more plot lines being set up in the background like this. It's really good writing. But these are kind of basics for writing big-budget shows, and I'm glad we're seeing more of it, because we haven't seen it in Doctor Who for a long time, and in some other big-budget shows and big-budget stuff like Marvel for a long time as well. But anyway, let's move on from me ranting about other stuff. But yeah, I like that we're getting it. I'm not even going to pretend or try to speculate on who Mrs. Flood may or may not be, because I'm pretty sure I'll be wrong, so I'll leave the speculation to you guys. Plus, this video is ultra late anyway, so all the theories are probably out online. So even if I tried to craft my own theory, someone's going to accuse me of copying, so I'll leave the Mrs. Flood theories to you guys. Comment below what you guys thought of the Mrs. Flood moment, if you wish. But it is great to see people doing theories again, see the engagement on the show go up, see the engagement on the show go through the roof, basically, and it does feel like old-fashioned Doctor Who again, and I'm really here for it. Despite all my criticisms of this episode, I think it was good overall, even though there were some writing issues, and some writing standouts as well, as I pointed out throughout this review. I do hope that Mrs. Flood's build-up is worth it, though, but I will comment on that as we go, and I'm intrigued to see what continues to happen gradually. But I did find it cool and really funny. The moment stuck out even more so with Mrs. Flood, because the whole wink tip and bringing the camera in closer felt like a full-on fourth wall break and taking a cue from Deadpool, which is an interesting way of doing it and something we haven't really seen Russell. We've seen Russell set up certain long-running plot threads like this before, but doing it in that way we haven't really seen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, although I hope the fourth wall breaking doesn't become too much, because I mean it did with a couple moments in Stephen Moffat's era, not quite in that way, but there was with where Missy calls Nardole comic relief and the explanation person when she calls Bill, and it's just like, that was just dumb and way too much. But taking one cue from Deadpool and taking a cue from Deadpool with the fourth wall break wasn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as it doesn't happen consistently, as long as it doesn't happen constantly and isn't too overused. I'm just happy to be fully reinvested in Doctor Who again, and I think that Ncuti Gatwa did a wonderful job. There are some things I hope don't become a permanent mainstay, like the singing, but hey, Ncuti Gatwa did a wonderful job, and I'm excited to see what his iteration of the Doctor can do next. I also like the moment of saving Davina McCall. It was just a funny callback and him saying Merry Christmas, Davina McCall, but also it does make sense within the time travel rules they've always set up, especially within Russell T Davies' era anyway. This is where someone goes, no it doesn't, and completely blows this argument out of the water. But I think it does make sense with the rules they set up in Russell T Davies' era, because he said to Wilf at one point, I've got to stay relative towards the Master within the causal nexus of events. So if they become too tied in with events, then he can't go back and save everyone. But Davina McCall wasn't too tied in with the rest of the events with the Goblin King and the Goblin Henchmen and the bad luck stuff. She was just an unwilling bystander, so he went back and stopped the tree from falling on her, and that didn't affect the timeline too much. So that really did save a character, which was cool to see. An interesting interaction with Davina McCall having more to do in the episode, and it saved a character in accordance with the time travel rules that Doctor Who, the writer in charge at least, had set up previously, and kept those rules consistent, so well done, Russell. Again, there are some really good writing moments in this episode, and there's a lot to like within this episode. I will acknowledge the things I don't like in this episode could be considered minimum nitpicks, but we don't need the repeating of writing mistakes, and I know Russell can write better than this, therefore that's why I'm going to keep pointing them out. The last thing I'm going to point out before I let you guys go is that there was a good reference to the Timeless Child, giving relatability between Ruby and the Doctor and Ruby's family dynamics, saying they were both adopted in similar ways because the Doctor was abandoned by Tecteun, Again, good reference to the Timeless Child storyline, but personally, for the love of God, Russell, please stop referencing it. That storyline just makes the Doctor an unkillable god, no stakes, no heart. And yes, I'm glad you can go back to it and try and reference bad storylines and make them work, because that's what a good writer does, but for the love of God, please stop referencing it beyond this point, or at least change it a little so the Doctor isn't just an endless regenerating god, because it takes the heart, the stakes, and everything out of it. And yeah, don't reference it too much, Russell, although good use. Begrudgingly, I have to say it was a good use in this episode, but please stop referencing it from this point on. Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting now, as I've been talking for half an hour and really need to edit this down. And hopefully Russell T Davies will do me the favour of liking this review and not writing the Timeless Child into stuff unnecessarily going forwards from this point onwards. And if you can't like the review, Russell, at least do me the favour of stop referencing the Timeless Child. Anyway, that's enough from me. That's all I've got, guys. That's the end of the video. You can finally go now.